G'day there guys, it's Connie here again, and we are back with some more stories from Reddit. Yeah, we're switching back to the 40-minute videos now, so I hope that's okay with you guys. Alrighty, like and subscribe and all that, and let's get straight into the stories. Alrighty guys, we are on relationships. This one was written by user K2K Athlete, and it's titled, "My girlfriend is convinced that I'm having an affair with my doubles partner. I am not, and it's driving me mad." Hi Reddit, so I'm a pro athlete. I won't say which sport exactly for anonymity, but it's one where you can play singles and doubles. I met my girlfriend 2.5 years ago, and we had a wonderful relationship. I also made it very clear from the beginning that I would often have to be away travelling around the country and occasionally internationally to compete in tournaments, and she accepted this and has never had a problem with it until the coaches paired me with this girl, who I'll call Lucy, who I'll admit I have become good friends with, but that she isn't my type. Lucy is very conventionally attractive, and most guys, 100% not me, would find her more attractive than my girlfriend. I think some of her gossipy friends have got into her head, telling her she shouldn't trust me going to hotels with this attractive girl without her there. My girlfriend is always welcome to come along to spectate, but usually can't because of work. She then started reading into things that aren't there, like not being happy that me and Lucy hugged each other after winning a tournament together recently. Like what? And apparently looking too close on the team's social media, even though those pictures are designed to make the team look tight-knit. She's asking all sorts of unreasonable things, like asking me to stay in a separate hotel to Lucy. The coaches book the hotels, and the whole team stays in the same one. It would look so strange if I asked not to be with them. My girlfriend was not happy with this explanation. She is now demanding that I asked for a different doubles partner, which I refused to do, firstly because doing so to me would be like admitting there's something going on when there isn't, and secondly, I'm not messing with my chances of success and winning titles because she can't get over her insecurities. During a recent conversation, I admitted to my girlfriend that soon in the run-up to the Olympics I'll probably be spending more time training with Lucy than ever before, and she absolutely blew up, saying she loves me but can't deny what's going on right in front of her eyes, and she can't do this anymore. I screamed, "There is nothing going on," and she stormed out and says she's going to her parents for a few days, and that's where we are at the moment. My goodness, I love this girl so much and I want her to trust me, damn it. I've never given her a reason not to. Any advice on how to convince her to trust me? Please don't say just ditch Lucy as a doubles partner because I ain't doing that. Yeah, I don't know, there's not much that Opie can really do here. I mean, this is on the girlfriend to, like Opie said, get over her insecurities. I guess maybe there's a way somewhere that you can convince her that you're not into this Lucy girl. Maybe if your girlfriend got to know her as a friend or something like that. Let's go to the comments. Honestly, there is no convincing her at this point if she's dug in this deeply. She's not only decided you're capable of cheating, she's decided you are cheating. Her support network has decided you're cheating and will validate that opinion as well. There's no meeting or text or even therapy session to convince her otherwise. Your only choice now is between keeping your girlfriend and keeping your doubles partner. Your girlfriend has decided that they cannot mutually coexist. Also, you find another female's double partner, you'll just be doing this again a year or two from now. You're a professional athlete. All this upset and stress isn't good for you or your career. Can she take a leave from work? Maybe a month where she can stay with you and spend time with Lucy? Has she met Lucy? She needs to be with you so she can see you both together and check out the interaction between you. If not, then I don't see how this can be fixed, sadly. What Olympic sports have specific mixed doubles events for people who only play mixed doubles? I know tennis has mixed doubles, but the pairings are made from the people who have already qualified as individuals or non-mixed doubles. I don't think you're doing anything wrong, so this isn't a suggestion, just a question. Why do you specifically play mixed doubles instead of singles or non-mixed doubles? Opie replies, I play all three. There's no rule against competing in all of them. Mixed doubles is just the most successful for me at the moment. You have a strong emotional connection with another female. Your relationship isn't just like co-workers. You guys are partners in a sport. Can you really blame her for not liking it? She didn't start a relationship with you and expected you to have such a strong bond with another female, and the more time you guys spend together, the stronger that bond is going to become.
I understand it's because of your career, but who would want a partner that has a strong connection with another person of opposite sex making a career together? They would prefer if their partner didn't have that. Opie responds, "You make a good point, but she knew what she was signing up for at the beginning. I made it perfectly clear what dating an athlete in this sport would be like, including that it would mean training and potentially partnering up with women who were very physically fit. She was always okay with this, until Lucy." Yeah, it sounds like she knew what she was signing up for. Let's go to an update 7 weeks later. I don't know if anyone really wanted an update, but things got pretty crazy. After my girlfriend stormed off to her parents, we spoke again over the phone, and she still didn't believe me, and I was tired of it, so we agreed to end things. She came and collected her stuff a couple of days later, and I thought that would be the end. Then 3 weeks passed, and she suddenly comes to my place at night, telling me what a fool she had been, and claiming she'd come to her senses and knows I wasn't cheating. I was pretty happy to hear that, and we had some pretty great make-up sex, and it seemed problem solved. Then for like a week and a half, I started to get very suspicious of this sudden change of heart. How she went from being 100% sure I was having an affair to 100% sure I'm not, like the flick of a switch. Her behaviour was also off, like she was trying too hard to make it up to me. She was never asking me to do any chores like she completely fairly did before. I was coming home to a girlfriend who had my favourite meal made on the table and dressed up sexy for me, which was out of character. I then confronted her, demanding to know why the sudden change. She denied it at first, but then admitted that she hired a private investigator in those 3 weeks she was gone to get proof of me and Lucy having an affair to prove she was right, when in fact he did the opposite when he told her after his weeks of watching that we definitely weren't having an affair. This was a big breach of trust and of my private life, so I told her we are over permanently this time. She actually accepted this quite calmly, seeming pretty resigned to it. We then parted amicably. She packed and left again, but I did speak to her yesterday where she seemed in okay spirits, enjoying Christmas with her family, and she told me she's getting therapy in the new year to work on her issues and paranoia. And for me, well, I'm all good. I thought I would be really broken up about it, but I actually feel quite happy and free. Just enjoying Christmas and looking forward to trying to get into the Olympics without all the drama. Oh, and to those who thought Lucy might have been into me, she's not made any moves on me since the breakup at all, and there's been no changes in our dynamic. Thanks all who commented. Wow, there you go. Did Opie make it to Paris though? I suppose we'll never know. But yeah, someone hiring a private investigator on you is pretty alarming, and like Opie said, a huge breach of trust. I'd be out of there as well if that were me. What about you guys? Let me know down below. Alrighty, let's move on to another story. Alrighty, jumping over to relationship advice. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "My best friend is telling me that my boyfriend cheated with her, but he says that she's lying. How do I get the truth and then salvage whichever one of these relationships is worth saving?" I've been best friends with Becca since 2010. We were college roommates, and then after we graduated we still lived together until I moved in with my boyfriend, Nate, in 2019. One thing about Becca is that she's always had a drinking problem for as long as I've known her, and she's done stuff while drunk that has sometimes caused problems in our friendship. She does try to stay sober, but every few years something will happen to make her start drinking again, which is what happened earlier this summer. So last Saturday, Becca called me because she was drunk somewhere and needed a ride home. I couldn't go pick her up because I had the flu and I was on cold medicine, so Nate went to get her instead. A couple of days after that, I started noticing that Nate was being weird with his phone. Normally he leaves it out on the coffee table if we're watching TV or whatever, but he started putting it face down so I couldn't see what notifications he was getting. My first thought was that he was trying to plan a surprise, and because of the timing, I thought that maybe Becca was helping him. Yesterday, I saw Becca and I told her that Nate was being sneaky all of a sudden and asked her if he said anything about maybe proposing soon. She asked me if I looked through his phone and I said no. Becca started crying and told me that she and Nate hooked up in his car the night that he came to pick her up. Her excuse was that she was really drunk and didn't fully know what she was doing. She said she'd been texting him since, telling him that he really needed to tell me what happened or else she was going to. I asked Becca to show me the texts, but they were all in the app, Signal, which deletes messages after a day, so all I could see was that she and Nate had a chat thread, but nothing that they said. I told her to text Nate in front of me so I could see what he said, and she did, but we got no read receipt, and so no response at all, so it didn't prove anything. I asked Becca if she was sure she wasn't so drunk that she maybe imagined it or thought a dream was real, and she absolutely lost her crap on me and said that she knows that she's horrible when she drinks, but that she's not frickin' delusional and she doesn't make crap up. She said that I could believe her or not, and it's my choice, but she was telling me the truth. I said I needed to go home and talk with Nate. So when I got home, I confronted Nate with what Becca had said, and he acted shocked and denied that anything like that had happened at all, and said he didn't know why she'd think so or say so. He said that he had just given Becca a ride home, and the only thing that happened was that they talked about how he and I had been together for a long time, and how we should get married already. He admitted that they were talking on Signal the next couple of days, but he said that it was about exactly what I thought, that he was asking her about engagement rings and what kind of proposal I would want. Nate replied to Becca's message from before asking her if she made up a story about them hooking up to not ruin the surprise about his proposal, and she texted him back that there was no proposal and to stop playing dumb. So then Nate called her pretending like I wasn't in the room and told her that she needed to stop whatever she was trying to do because we were on the verge of breaking up, and he'd rather just have the surprise be ruined. But Becca just kept telling Nate to stop lying until he got angry and hung up on her. I really didn't know what to think, and I still don't. Right now, Nate is really upset and not really talking to me much. He said that it's bad enough that Becca acted insane and ruined his plan to propose, but it's even worse that I believed her lies even a little and would think that he would ever cheat on me. Becca texted me saying she was sorry, but otherwise I haven't talked to her either. I don't want to think that Nate would cheat on me or that he'd take advantage of Becca if she was that drunk, but I feel like I can't be 100% sure because I've known Becca for 13 years, and I also just can't believe that she'd lie to me about something this important. And I know that she does have a drinking problem, so I can believe that she'd sleep with my boyfriend if she was drunk out of her head. She's done some pretty awful things in the past when she's been drunk. I don't want to wrongly accuse Nate of something he didn't do, but I don't want to be an idiot. Whew, yeah, this is tricky. I mean, either way, there's going to be trust issues going forward. Opie answers some comments. Signal doesn't automatically delete messages unless you turn that feature on. Would he have? Opie says it's not the automatic default, but if Nate created the chat with Becca and set it for messages to disappear after 24 hours, then all of her messages with him will do that without input from her. Another comment asks what Opie wants help with. Sleuthing ideas, who is more believable, revenge, etc. Opie says, I think what I initially wanted was just a sounding board for who sounded more believable, but someone gave me the tip that you can actually recover messages from Signal, so when I have a chance later tonight I'm going to try and do that to see if I can get some actual proof of what happened. But so far I haven't talked to anyone else about this though. I really just don't want to spread around what did or didn't happen to the rest of my friends or family without actually knowing for sure. Someone asks, what else has Becca done to you while drunk? Opie says, so in the past when she's been drunk, Becca's blacked out and started fights with me or other people. She'll say really out of line insulting things. She's kicked people out of her apartment because she didn't remember inviting them in. She's accused me of stealing clothes from her because I was wearing an outfit that looked like something that she also owned. That kind of thing. She's never hooked up with anyone that I was dating, but she's definitely hooked up with guys that she knew I was interested in. Someone asks, who has the greater motivation to lie here, Nate or Becca? Becca did have a big problem with Nate when we first got together, and she was really upset when I moved out of our apartment to move in with him. I could see her still being angry about it, or still not liking him but just not saying anything. From what Nate said, they weren't making the plans on Saturday, but Becca brought up that it's been 7 years and asked why we're not married yet, and then the day after he asked her about rings. Someone asks, what is her reason for not liking him? Opie says, so at the time she was in one of her longer stretches of being sober, and she said that I was abandoning her for some guy when she needed my support the most. And then when I moved out, she tried to make it out like she wouldn't be able to stay sober without me living with her, and Nate basically had to step in and point out that she couldn't stay sober anyway, so to stop guilting me. Someone mentions it's possible she blames you for her current drinking, and Nate saying he wants to propose triggered her anger for some reason. Opie replies, everything you say here makes sense to me. Becca has said some stuff like this in the past, not specifically about Nate, but sometimes when she starts drinking again, she acts like it's unfair that I'm not getting dragged down with her, or doing more to help her, and I think on some level she might still think it's his fault that I moved out, and don't keep as close an eye on her as I did back when we lived together. I don't know if she'd really go as far as to lie about something like this just for that reason. I really hope she wouldn't, but I could completely believe that she feels like this. Yeah, for me, honestly, at the moment, knowing all the context and stuff, I think Beck is looking like the most likely culprit here. What do you guys think? Okay, Opie makes an update 2 days later. So on Thursday night, after I got everyone's advice, I told Nate that I'd found out a way to recover deleted messages from Signal. He immediately took out his phone and opened the app and asked me to show him how to do it. So I already thought that must mean he was telling me the truth because he didn't panic or hesitate at all. Which was good because when I tried to download Signal on my old phone, it turned out that it's too old to support the current version of the app, so it wouldn't work. Nate then asked me if we were going to have to go out and buy a new phone for me to believe that he was telling me the truth, and he said that he was willing to do it if that's what it would take. I told Nate it wasn't that I didn't believe him, I just wanted to have some proof because I just couldn't understand why Becca would lie about it. Nate said that she would lie about it because she's a frickin' crazy drunk bee, and there's literally no way for a non-crazy person to understand why she would do anything, and once the messages proved that, he didn't ever want me talking to her again. Then he said to get up because if we were going to go to the Verizon store, we had to get there before it closed. By then, I completely believed Nate anyway, so I told him we didn't have to go anywhere or get a new phone, and that I believed him, and I knew he didn't cheat on me, and that he would never do that. Nate said that he would hope I know that, and that he didn't understand why I didn't take his word for it in the first place. I started trying to explain why I didn't want to just immediately dismiss what Becca had said happened, but Nate said that he really couldn't listen to that right now. I said that was fair and agreed that I would cut Becca off, but that first I wanted to try to get her to admit that nothing happened. Nate said fine, but to call her with my phone on speaker because he thought he also deserved to hear her admit that she was lying. So I called Becca and I said the same thing to her that I said to Nate, that I figured out how to recover deleted messages on Signal. She asked me why I would need to do that, so that was when I knew for sure that she was definitely making it up and not just confused somehow. I said it was because I wanted to have proof of what she and Nate talked about. Becca asked me if I saw their messages, so I lied and said yes. After that, Becca just went silent until finally I asked her if she was going to say anything. Then she asked me if that meant that we were engaged now. So then I really just lost it on her and screamed at her, asking her if she was frickin' serious and what the F was wrong with her, and how could that possibly be all that she had to say. Becca started screaming back, telling me to frickin' calm down, and about how obviously I never believed her anyway because it's not like we broke up over it. I was crying by that point, and because of that I really couldn't say anything else. So then Nate told Becca to go F herself and to never ever contact either of us ever again, and hung up on her. A minute later, Becca sent me a completely unhinged text that I'm quoting here verbatim, apart from changed names. Quote, "Courtney, you were supposed to be my friend for life. You were supposed to be there for me. You were supposed to be my person. But then you meet Nate and now you only care about Nate. Everything is about Nate. Tell me why Nate comes to pick me up when I call you. I called you, not your precious frickin' Nate. I only want you to see how effed up this is, but do you? No, of course you don't. Of course you choose Nate over me like you always do, and like you always will. You pretend to care about me, but I can see you don't care. It is pathetic, Courtney. You are a pathetic woman who would choose a man over a friend, but since you can't say it yourself, I will. Since you have to have your sweet, perfect little baby Nate do it for you, I will. Goodbye, Courtney. Is that what you want? Goodbye forever. I hope you frickin' got what you frickin' want." There were the 3 dots after that showing that she was still typing more, but I blocked her before she sent it. I don't care about anything else that she has to say. I'm sure it's all just going to be more bullcrap about why this is my fault, or justifications about why what she did wasn't that bad and I should forgive her. I know Nate is probably right, and there's no non-crazy logic behind why Becca would stoop to doing something like this, but obviously I've still been thinking about it, and my best guess is that whoever said that Becca still blames me and Nate, apparently mostly Nate, for her being a drunk mess who can't get her life together, is right. It seems like she somehow thought that if she said she hooked up with Nate, I'd break up with him, but still want to be friends with her, and then everything would be magically fixed. As far as stuff with Nate, I asked him if he thought he could ever forgive me for doubting him, and he said that since I came to my senses and I cut Becca off, he guesses we can try to put it behind us. I don't think he's still going to propose anytime soon. After this, I probably wouldn't if I was him. And from what Nate said, he didn't actually do any planning yet, other than asking Becca about rings, and if I'd think a public proposal was tacky or not. All he was doing so far was trying to get ideas without me knowing he was talking to her about it. So just based on that, I think probably it's not going to happen for a while, if it still does at all. Also, thanks to everyone for the advice and support. I know I didn't respond to many comments, but I really did appreciate everyone who cared enough to want to help. One comment says, "I'm curious if Becca ever said anything to you when she hooked up with the guys you liked. Do you think she was blocking you on purpose to keep you for herself? Did she try anything with Nate before you were exclusive, or was she just drunk and looking for hookups?" Opie says, "I don't think she ever put enough thought into those hookups to be malicious like that. She was just inconsiderate and would go after whoever." Someone says, "Did you ever confront her or just let her go? More than one time seems like a pattern." Opie says, "We definitely got into arguments about it at the time, but it was mostly just kind of college bullcrap and not really an actual confrontation about why she kept doing it, I guess." And one last thought from OP. "I'm sure she won't just go away. I'm already expecting her to try to get our other friends to get into the middle of everything as soon as she figures out she's actually blocked and I'm not just ignoring her. I hope she won't try to do anything else, but I guess at this point I really can't know with her. I'm hoping things are okay with Nate. I think in a while they will be." Yeah, wow, unhinged is the right word here. I mean, she's obviously got some issues going on, obviously with the drinking and maybe something mentally as well that she probably needs professional help for. So in that regard, I guess I can feel a little bit of sympathy, but yeah, you just do not do this. Okay, Opie gives a new update almost a year later. "I haven't logged into this account for about a year, but I got a few messages asking for an update, so here it is. I'll keep it as short as I can. Unfortunately, I have nothing good to report. It turned out that whatever was going on with Becca that caused her to make false accusations about Nate was the beginning of some kind of psychotic break. After I blocked her, she made a whole bunch of fake accounts and started sending me completely unhinged crap about how I ruined her life and threatening to get revenge on me and Nate. This went on for literally months, with her sending me dozens of messages a day. I found out from other friends that she was making multiple posts on Facebook every day that were semi-coherent rants about how much she hated me and how I was evil and ruined her life intentionally. I tried to talk to the police 2 different times to get a restraining order because I was afraid that Becca was going to show up at our apartment and attack me or Nate. I literally even got a front door camera because I was so scared that she was going to hurt us. The police said that because Becca wasn't threatening actual violence, she was just a nuisance and they couldn't do anything. They acted like I was an idiot because it isn't illegal to talk crap on Facebook, and they basically told me to just keep blocking her whenever she made a new account and eventually she'd get bored and move on. Then finally there was an incident where someone broke the windshield of Nate's car while he was parked at his work. I guess it could have just been a random act of vandalism because his wasn't the only car that got windows broken, but at the time I was 100% sure it was Becca, so I went to the police again. Eventually an officer went to talk to Becca, and she said she didn't touch Nate's car, and again I have no proof that she did. But after the police talked to her, Becca got put into a psych ward for a week because apparently her apartment was filthy and she was drunk out of her mind 24/7 and a danger to herself. I have not heard anything from Becca after she left the psych ward. I don't know if she was diagnosed with something or if she's medicated now or what. I found out that she moved in with her dad, who, thank God, lives in a different state. I look at her social media every so often to make sure she's not posting about me again and that she's nowhere around me. I haven't mentioned Nate much in this update because we're no longer together. He broke up with me after the windshield incident because he couldn't handle being constantly harassed by Becca, and to be honest, I don't think he ever forgave me for not taking his side immediately when everything started. It really hurt, but I can't blame him. I tried to talk to him about fixing things between us after Becca was gone, but he just wasn't interested. Yeah, honestly, a pretty realistic ending there. I don't think a situation like that would be, at all easy to move past. So like Opie said, you can't blame Nate for getting out of there. But I think Opie will learn valuable lessons from this as well. I mean, I feel like Becca showed signs early on that, her behaviour was pretty dangerous. If not dangerous, at least inconsiderate, and I don't think she'll make friends with people like that in the future, which is a good thing. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Alrighty, let's move on to another one. Alrighty guys, popping over to True Off My Chest, this one was written by user Mushia Saddle, and it's titled, I'm getting rid of the foster child my family has had for 7 years, and I don't care if it makes me a bad person. Firstly, please reserve judgment until the end. If you still think I'm a bad person after reading this, I won't stop you. I'm a 30-year-old man. My mum was a foster carer for the last 11 years before she passed away, and she made me promise that I would take over when she died. She had heart failure, but had lived from 7 years after diagnosis. She had 2 foster children, John and Paul. John came to live with us when I was 19 years old and he was 8 and had severe behavioural issues linked to his trauma. My world was turned upside down, but I very quickly grew to love him. Underneath the trauma and the difficulties, he was an amazing boy who I loved with my entire heart. He's now 19 himself and still lives with me. He just finished high school and I have no plans to move him out until he's ready. John and I have a great relationship. On the other hand, Paul is 16 years old. He came to live with us when he was 9. Paul has severe special needs, and no matter how much I've tried, I just cannot connect with him in the same way I did for John. Whereas John's behaviours needs never bothered me, with Paul they do. I find him frustrating, and I have to remind myself that he is only on the same level as a 3 or 4-year-old mentally, and it's not fair that I get frustrated at him. When Mum was still alive, she took the main role of looking after Paul, and I supported her, which was okay, but I knew that when she was gone, I would struggle with him by myself. I didn't sign up to do this. I didn't sign up to look after him for the rest of my life. I just didn't. Mum died 6 months ago, and I said to myself I would try. I kept Paul for all this time, but I just can't cope with him. I can't. I told my social worker that he needs to be moved by the end of the month, because I just can't manage. I want to continue fostering and I love being a foster carer, but I just cannot meet his needs, and it was different when Mum was alive. I feel so guilty because I made my mum a promise that I would care for him until he was at least 18, but I'm building resentment to him, and it isn't fair on him. He deserves to have someone who loves and cares for him in the ways that I just can't. So yeah, call me selfish, call me scum, whatever. I deserve it. Oh damn, that's pretty sad. But yeah, like Opie said, if you can't care for him now, I don't think it's going to get any easier in the long run. Let's go to some comments. Someone says, have you looked into state programs that could help with having a nurse or special needs caregiver to help with the burden? Uprooting Paul could hurt him even more, and he might be looking at you for support. Look into some programs to help and see what they say. If you need to move Paul, make sure you can discuss it with him. With him having a mind of a 3 or 4-year-old, that does some real damage to him if you aren't careful. My condolences, and good luck. Edit, the other commenters are providing good advice and words of encouragement. Opie replies, I've tried everything, any and all resources and support there is. When he's at school, it's not too bad. He has a transport to and from school every day, and has a carer who comes and takes him out for 5 hours each week. Plus I have 2 days each month where he's sent to a different foster carer so I can have some peace time. But even with the support, I can't manage it. I feel guilty for giving up, but I honestly tried my best. This doesn't mean I'm cutting him off completely. I'll still visit him sometimes, but I can't meet his needs, and I really tried. Okay, Opie responds to multiple questions about sucking it in and continuing with fostering Paul, and if there's any programs or residential homes that work with people like Paul. Opie says, no, don't worry, they already have a place for him in a residential home. I don't know if the system is different in different countries, but giving notice here on a placement isn't seen as the end of you fostering, and I didn't have to justify it beyond I just can't cope, luckily, because I would have broken down if I had to find justifications for it. It's funny, my mum used to say that the agency would always have had a way harder time playing John than Paul. John has very mild learning disabilities, but mainly linked to trauma, and had very bad behaviour, even now, linked to his trauma, even though it's way better than when he was 8, lol. He's given me black eyes and bloody noses, smashed my laptops and TVs, and there was never a point throughout all of that where I ever thought I wouldn't give up on him. I would foster another child like him in a heartbeat and struggled to see why anyone wouldn't. To me, he was just a kid in a tough spot, and our love helped him. My mum explained to me that children like him are actually harder to place because people are less forgiving of behaviours without a cause they can physically see, like an obvious learning disability. I really tried to extend that to Paul. Genuinely, I did. I just couldn't. It just didn't click. I can't do the care he needs, sadly, and it's gutting for me because I really tried. And even though, I don't feel that intense love for him that I do for John, I would never want Paul to be put in harm or not cared for. That isn't how the foster care system works. Me being unable to cope with Paul, who has extreme needs, means I should never be able to care for potential tens of children that I can support throughout my lifetime. Because I cannot support one child that's severe disability means that any potential foster children that I could support should what? Just continue living in residential and group homes? Have a think about how that logic works for you. Me admitting I can't cope with one child means that tens of future children could go without care and love in your world. Does that make sense to you? He is already on the highest package of support, which is immense, and I'm entirely grateful to my agency. But even with it, I'm not in a position to support him with how he needs it, unfortunately. He already has a place in a residential home, and I will still visit him. I don't want to just move him there and pretend he was never part of my life. I'm not that heartless at least, lol. Okay folks, now for an update, 8 days later. It has now been a few days since Paul moved out, so I thought I would give a little update. Firstly, I want to thank everyone who took the time to read my previous post, and for those who offered support and understanding. It means a lot, honestly. Paul has been placed with a new family who specialise in caring for children with severe special needs. I believe this is the best environment for him, and he seems to be settling in well. I'm keeping in touch with his new carers, and they've assured me that he's receiving the care and attention he needs. At first, the house felt different, quieter but also emptier. There's a lingering sense of guilt, but I'm also more at peace knowing he's in a better place, suited to his needs. John and I have had more time to spend together, which has been nice. We've talked a lot about everything that's happened, and I'm grateful for his understanding and support. I've also started seeing a therapist to help work through the guilt I've been feeling and to help me grieve. Yesterday, my agency reached out saying they have 2 little boys needing housing for a short-term placement. They said initially 6 weeks, but it could be extended. They're coming tomorrow, and I'm excited. They're 9 and 11, and are coming directly from their birth families. This will be my first proper placement, so I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little anxious. Thank you again to everyone who reached out. Now for some final comments. It sounds like everything is working out well for both you and John, as well as Paul and the kids you're able to help now with these two and in the future. Good job taking care of yourself in this difficult time with therapy too. So glad to hear you made the right decision. Sounds like you're very awesome, and I hope your new placement will be a good fit. Good luck to you and all the boys. You did the right thing for you all. You tried and it just didn't work out, and anyone telling you different has never even come close to taking care of someone with severe disabilities. Alrighty folks, and that's the end of that story. All in all, yeah, a pretty good ending. Sounds like everyone really got what they wanted and needed in the end there. And yeah, ultimately I think what Opie managed to do was the right choice. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, let's move on again. Okie dokie, jumping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Independent Put, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's girlfriend that he had a vasectomy when she was telling me about their plans to settle down and have a family? My brother, Mark, 40, won the lottery when he was 20. It was $1,000 a week for life. He was young and wanted to travel. He dropped out of school and has spent his entire adulthood basically seeing the world. He comes home to visit every few years, and we FaceTime with him when he is near signal. He doesn't travel first class or stay in expensive resorts, so he has actually built up some nice savings. He came home with a girlfriend, Hayley, 28, this year. They met when they got stuck in South America during the pandemic. She has been travelling since she graduated from university, and she works out of a laptop. I, female 54, live in the same city where I was born. I love it here. I love being close to my parents and my grandchildren, and most of my siblings. Mark hated being the youngest of 8 and always swore he would not have kids. Our parents were older when they had him, and they didn't have the energy for him, truth be told. Mark came home when he was 30 and told us all that he had a vasectomy and that he would not be contributing to the world population. Hayley is a pretty young thing, and she's also intelligent and sweet. I can understand why anyone would fall in love with her. We were having a family barbecue to celebrate Mark being in town. There were maybe 30 people in my parents' yard and house. I was talking to Hayley about her future plans now that the world opened up again. She said that she was ready to settle down and start a family. I asked if they were planning on adopting from one of the countries that they'd travelled to, or if they would try in North America. She said they'd talked about it and would be having at least one child of their own. This may be where I effed up. I asked where Mark got his vasectomy reversed, or if they were having in vitro fertilization. I know they can harvest sperm from a testicle even after a vasectomy. She went very quiet and went over to Mark. They spoke, and they left. Mark called me later that night to scream at me for ruining his life. He hadn't told her, and he was planning on just continuing to travel and maybe adopt if they decided on it. He said I shared private medical information and that he never wanted to see me again. I apologized over and over. I seriously had no way of knowing that he was planning a future with this girl without telling her a pretty big piece of the puzzle might be missing. I feel bad for him, but I think he should have told her. Yeah, absolutely he should have told her. Like, he can't get mad at you for that. What, was he planning on stringing her along for a few years under the false guise of, starting a family later? He sounds like a bit of a prick to me. Let's go to the comments. Your brother is a self-centered jerk. He was just going to lie and string that poor girl along. Thank you so much for telling her the truth, even if it was an accident. God, what an ass your brother is. Shame on him. Please tell everyone he dates that he's had a vasectomy. Opie replies, he's usually not in the country. How old was the girlfriend when her brother met her? Opie says, I think she was 25 when they met. I mean, did you slip up, or did you know they were kicking a wasp's nest? Opie says, they've been together for almost 3 years and are planning one biological kid. I assumed it must have come up. So they talked about it and he didn't bring it up on his own terms at all? Wouldn't that have been the time for him to tell his partner about the vasectomy? Alrighty guys, on to an update. My brother now refuses to visit our parents if I'm around because I accidentally told his girlfriend at the time that he had a vasectomy when she told me that they were trying for kids. So it wasn't that he was planning on reversing his vasectomy or anything. He wanted to do the same as that poor woman's boyfriend, just lead her on until it was too late for her to have kids. He came by this summer with his girlfriend and I stayed away. I guess he told this one that he and I have had a bad relationship and that I'm jealous of his riches, lol, after his lottery win. I'm not going to do anything about it, but I hope she finds out before he screws her future as well. Sort of a funny thing though, his lottery money may run out soon. It turns out that he should have paid more attention. The money he won, which was $1,000 a week for life, was actually only for 25 years. He does have savings, so he shouldn't be destitute or anything, but he also does not have a pension or anything. I'm interested to see what happens in 4 years. And some final comments. You might have spilled the beans, but it looks like his secret was bound to come out sooner or later anyway. It's cool that you're not trying to get involved, but hoping his girlfriend finds out shows you still care about her. Where are your parents on this? If I knew my sons were this manipulative and deceitful, I'd be disgusted. I'd also be telling every single woman he brings home, which means they'd vanish, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. I guess karma is that, his money's going to be running out. And I assume the guy hasn't had a job his entire life. Yeah, good luck finding one. This comment agrees with me. 40, 45 when his money runs out and never worked. Good luck finding a job at 52k a year, or any job. He's 40 years old and he's that much of an ass. The girlfriend deserves so much better and she's only 28. I freaking hate the excuse guys like this use to say, I couldn't tell you XYZ because you would have left if I did. Yes, exactly, I probably would have, and I deserve to be the one who gets to make the decision. You have no right to make it for me. He wanted his cake and to eat it too. He was just going to keep her in the dark with his lie and take away her ability to have children with too much time. What a spoiled, entitled crap. People like this are just terrible. At least she now knows and can dip out and find someone honest and wants kids. Yeah, 100%. This is one of those instances where you're glad that you slipped up. Otherwise, that poor girl would be suffering for years to come. Also, imagine being in your 40s and never having worked a single day in your life. I mean, I feel like even if I won the lottery, I'd still want to work, give myself a purpose. Even if it was just for 1 or 2 days a week, I don't know, that's just me. What would you guys do? Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, well that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.